Okay, live again. Let's just make sure that everything is working before I start. Okay, so TradingView is viewing. If I change the chart, it also changes the chart. Okay, so this time it works. Let's go back to here and where do I begin? Um, yeah, I'm gonna have to be very careful with what I say now. But let me just address why I wasn't able to do a live stream last week. Well, because the internet was not available where I am. Right now it is, but it wasn't available last week. Why? Well, you're gonna have to just go on Google and ask what happened on November 29th in a certain East African country. So, yeah. And based on that situation, let me give a bit of context, and I'm gonna speak in terms of football, so that hopefully you'll be able to understand what it is that I'm saying. I wanna do this in Swahili, but yeah, dude, I might switch. I'll probably switch language in between. So first things first. Um, poleni sana kwa wote walioathirika. Hili ni jambo la kwetu sote sisi. Kwa sasa hivi siwezi nikasema kwamba huyu yuko sahihi, huyu amekosea, kwa sababu matukio ni mengi, matukio yaliyotokea ni mengi sana, na ni rahisi sana kusema kwamba ni yule fulani au ni huyu fulani, ila huu ni msururu wa matukio ambayo yanaingiliana, na mimi kiukweli kabisa sijui wameanzia wapi, sijui kuishia ni wapi mpaka hapa tulipo sasa hivi, ila jua tu kwamba ni jukumu letu wote kutafuta namna ya kusonga mbele, sababu kila mtu ameathirika kwa upande wake, kwa namna yake, na sio maisha ambayo tunataka kuishi, sio maisha ambayo tumezoea kuishi, na sio maisha ambayo nahisi tunatakiwa kuishi kiukweli kabisa. Essentially what's happening is the fans have turned on the manager. And why have the fans turned on the manager? Because the fans had become expectant of a certain standard. Let's say you were a mid-table club, or let's say bottom half of the table club, and you had a manager who found a way to win, not necessarily playing the most attractive style of football. Obviously, there were some fans who were like, yeah, this guy doesn't understand the ethos of our club, or this guy is not playing attractive football, but he was winning, so a majority of the fans were on his side. Now, what happened is this manager is gone, and a new manager comes in. Well, now, as a new manager, you have to keep winning somehow, because that's what the fans expect. That's what the fans have become used to. And the moment a string of results that does not produce the results that the fans were expecting, the fans will turn on you. And you have to understand that it goes beyond the manager, right? Because if you're no longer winning football, if you're no longer winning matches or getting wins, then of course they'll turn on you, because they want to win. They want to experience the feeling of winning, right? And there's a lot at stake if you don't win. You could lose sponsors. You have less fans coming to games, so that means revenues go down. They're not buying shirts, so revenue goes down. all of a sudden you can no longer attract the top players that you want, because who wants to play for a club that's not winning? You're gonna get players who just want to play, but not necessarily the best players that are available in the market. So you now, as a new manager, have to balance, find a way of, one, keep winning, two, play a style of football that reflects your ethos, that it shows your philosophy, that shows, just personality that you expect. And these things take time. It's not a one match fix. It's not just slap some duct tape on it and everything will work. You have to actually first figure out what the last person was doing so that they could win, if that, and then find a way to win, or if not, find a way to win yourself with the players that you do have. And maybe you did sell a few players here and there, a few players left, let the contracts run, and they were key players, and the fans are now unhappy that why did you let the key players go? You have to replace them with people who are competent enough, who have the same mindset, the same, uh, like who are on the same page as you, so that you can be able to produce the results that you're seeking. And it's a complicated place to be in, because you could blame the ownership of the club and be like, yeah, the owners of the club are absolute shite. They're not funding us the way they used to. So we kind of had to let some players go because their wages were too much, or maybe they just don't fit the vision of the club going forward, or they don't fit my philosophy, or whatever it is. The fans don't really care about that. They just want to win. They don't really, like, yeah, they might follow up. You might have a few fans who are really deep and follow up on who your personnel is, who your goalkeeping coach is, who your nutritionist is. But for the most part, a lot of them don't care. They just want to see their team win. So, as a new manager, as the current manager of a club that's underperforming, you have to make it work. Like, you don't really have the time to, maybe take training sessions as you used to, because let's face it, you're competing in 3, 4 different fronts, and time is just not on your side. Or maybe the players haven't bought into your philosophy and they don't want to play for you. They don't feel like you're the manager who's going to bring the best out of them. So now you have to figure out how to get the results on the pitch so that you can get the fans back on your side, because that is the first thing. The moment the fans turn on you, your job becomes 10 times, 50 times harder than it already is. Not than it actually is, than it already is. Because, we might forgive not competing in every single competition, but the ones that we are competing in, do your best. Like, show some effort. Like, make actually go in there. And you also have to be accountable. That is another thing. You have to be very accountable. A win is your fault. A loss is your fault. A draw is your fault. And it's a heavy burden to bear, especially when the club is as big as it is. There's nowhere to hide. Everything is out there. People are going to say whatever it is they're going to say. And you just have to take that on the chin. Accept that this is a situation that you're in. Give the club an expectation of what is to come, how you're going to get out of the situation, and then pray and do your best. That's as much as you can do as a manager, because to be honest, the manager isn't gonna step out on the field. He can't in the middle of the match say to a player, like, they can just shout, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the message is going to get across to the players as it should, or maybe even going to get across to the players, because the stadium's loud. It's rock. Everybody's like doing. There's a couple thousand people in there. Okay, everybody. So many different perspectives and things going on at the same time. You have to find a way. You have to find a way. But first things first, you've got to take responsibility. You've got to take accountability for whatever the situation that you find yourself in. Accept that it's your fault. That's where it starts. And then address the fans. Once you've done that, once you're able to have the trust of the fans back on your side, then maybe your job gets a little bit easier. Once you've won the players back, like I think before even winning the fans back, you need to get the players on your side. Because if the players are not on your side, my friend, nothing you do is going to translate on the field. What's going to translate onto the field is frustration from the people who you're supposed to be leading. And yeah, if they're frustrated and not doing the things that you instructed, the things that you coached them to do, well, your head's on the chopping block. And the situation is sometimes you've got like the best thing for the club is for you to leave. I'm not saying that you should leave, but in some instances, that is the best thing for the club, and you kind of have to put the club's interests ahead of yours as an individual. As I hope my message is coming across the way I intended it to. But apart from that, let's look at the charts. So US government data may be impacted by the shutdown. Interesting that the government is still shut down, the markets are still going, and people are still doing things that they kind of should be or shouldn't be doing. So this is the first time I'm experiencing no NFP for 2 weeks in a row. 2 months in a row, sorry. And upcoming this week is CPI on Thursday and PPI on Friday. That's what we have. Let's go to technicals. Here is where I expected gold to expand to. Gold expanded beyond that. Oh yeah, and also like I completely get it. Like no one really cares about your chart predictions, even if you're able to predict the markets every single week. Can you make money off the predictions? Yeah. So weekly chart, we've dug into this fair value gap, closed above it, and then the next week we've consolidated within this range. So this is still the range that we're in. This is the high, this is the low, and there's an imbalance over there. You dig? An imbalance over there. Likely we could see us go up into there somewhere next week. Possibly we could go down there or into this monthly fair value gap as seen below. By the way, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gaps that have not been tested. So yeah, we could very well see that. See, that was my prediction for that week. I was expecting us to retest this fair value gap up here on the daily chart, but we didn't do that. Instead, we traded into this one, rejected, and then push lower through that one too, and stopped at this gap over here. And also the funds. You kind of just have to trust the manager. Like if you don't trust the manager, then there's no point of whatever is going in, and we could just very well end up going through a cycle of going through manager after manager and after manager, and potentially things getting worse, us going nowhere, and it's a process. It takes time. There's no way you can rush through any of this. It's just like life's not TikTok, blood. Like, I know you can go online right now and speak to 500, 5,000, a million people in an instant. That wasn't possible just 20 years ago, 30 years ago. 30 years is not that old. I mean, some of y'all might start calling people Uncle Fossils, but jeez, man. Life didn't used to be like this. So that's a weekly plus a daily imbalance over there, which to me is where the draw on liquidity should be. That one's too far, so I'm gonna move it all the way to down here. And what do we have? We have this over here. This is a range that we find ourselves in. That's the weekly high, that's the weekly low, and we're somewhere in between these levels. Somewhere in between these levels. Swing high over there, that was a sweep of liquidity. See, that was, and we failed to close beyond the midpoint of here. Failed to close beyond the midpoint of here. So we're kind of somewhere in this range. If I had to make an expectation of where we would go over the next week, probably this. So it would be bearish in gold. That's too far, so we'll move it forward to here. Buy side over here, sell side over here. Do I think that we're gonna break through this gap? Not really. Are we gonna retest it? Likely, because we've already traded through this gap. Although we didn't close above it, so that shows that it's still holding, but we just might have a run to the upside, touch this, and then come back lower for the rest of the week. And that's gold. Let's go to Eurodollar. Start on the weekly chart, monthly chart. Alright, let's push that a little bit forward. What do we have? Zoom in a little bit. We went up, came down, swept this liquidity, and now we're back in this range. Technically, we're still in this range, like from here to here, but you could just say it's from here to here now, from this high to this low, because this low is lower than this low, so that makes it a swing low over here, and then now we have a swing high over here, which just confirmed there. And last week, as you saw, was a consolidation. Like, yeah, we broke out below, but we didn't close below the previous week's low. Go to the weekly charts. I would say this is invalid now because we had a close below it, so take that off the chart. Actually, no, I don't want to take that off the chart. I want to move this to here, because this is a swing high and qualifies as a breaker. Mitigation block. Like, I swear to God, till today I don't know what. Like, I know them, but I don't know them also. So yeah, man. Yeah, so that's buy side on the weekly. We have another swing high there. What's the high over there? The high here is 7303, 729. So this is a lower high than that one. So there's no swing high. So buy side's up here, sell side's down here. My guess is that we're gonna hit sell side before we hit buy side. Although the monthly chart does look more bullish than it does bearish. Ooh. 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 Boy, I hit that. This is no longer so side liquidity on the daily. Hey, we had equal lows, and guess what? We didn't turtle soup on the equal lows. So what does that mean? It means momentum is still strongly bearish. Although we had this fair value gap, price went into it, came back, and then pushed higher. So above that we have this other fair value gap. Is that a fair value gap? No, it's not. Nah, that's not a fair value gap. We do have this bullish one though. We do have this bullish one. And what could possibly happen? Because, yeah, you're setting a precedent for the academy players. You're showing the academy players that the players actually have more power than the manager does, you know? And that's not a very good place to be in. Why is it not a very good place to be in? It's not a very good place to be in because now you're creating a situation or a scenario where the thought process or the expectation is that if the manager underperforms, we're just gonna vote them out, or we're just gonna force them out more than vote them out. And I can't type. Which is problematic because then you go through a season of just changing managers left, right, and center, not making any progress because nobody can agree on anything. So before even deciding that we want the manager out, we first have to be in agreement that the manager is indeed the problem, and therefore we must find a way to remove them before they cause any more damage to the institution we so dearly love and support. That's $. Also, we're in a discount premium. Well, premium held, got to discount, went through. Should see a pushback and then continuation lower. Eventually, to sell side liquidity down here. I could be very wrong with this. Like, we literally could have this candles go through here, bounce over here, and then come back up. I feel like we might pull into here first before going lower because, well, this is now invalid. To me, this is now invalid because we closed below this midpoint. Okay. Do we have anything over there? Just this order block, which kind of is invalid to me because we traded below it. I would mark this here, but we also closed. Oh, we didn't close below it, so yeah. Take this off. You got too much shit on your chart. Well, fucking use your own charts then. I'll fucking tell you to watch this. Plus, I could be wrong, so I don't want to be responsible for you losing your money. Like, the weeks I get it wrong, I'm still able to make money, so that kind of is on you. So yeah, order block to order block, and then push through here. That's what I see happening. to take the screenshot again. Technically, this should be invalid because we closed up here. But what do I know? Okay. Let's go to monthly charts for JP225, which just keeps going higher and higher. This was completely unexpected. I didn't expect that. One was completely unexpected. I didn't expect it. And weekly chart. So sides all the way down there. We have this fair value gap, which suspension block. Yes, I watched the latest videos, but I don't see how adding another PDRA is gonna make me a better trader. So just for those who watch the latest videos, yes, I do see a suspension block. That's the weekly, and then let's go to the daily. Okay. Yeah, that was a crazy day. This first daily buy side. Well, daily buy side's up here. It's not all I wanted. Equal lows. Here we have this gap which traded into technically this order block first and then into the gap itself. Why? That is a fair value gap because that's the low, that's the high. Yeah, you could say imbalance, but look at how it hit the midpoint of that so precisely. This is all the way down here, so I'm gonna move that, put it over here. Where's my predictor thing? Somewhere here. If I could just search for it, that would be nice. Or I'm going to have to draw a new one. I'm probably going to have to draw a new one. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to draw a new one. Oh well, let's draw a new one. Yes, I do see this, which is just chilling down here. 500, 508, so that's daily sell side. Okay, technically I guess I could use this one. If tomorrow closes with above this low, then it confirms the swing low, and then it's likely that we're gonna go higher. Because then again, this is an index, so indexes usually go in one direction. Overall, long term, indexes usually go in one direction. Plus, we're so far gone from whatever that low is. So we have this low and this high. We haven't really tapped the midpoint of this range. We go here and here, and that is roughly the midpoint of this range. Maybe we might go to the premium before we see this discount. retracement into this fair value gap, but then again, we already have traded into this fair value gap, so it's likely that we're going to see upwards prices. And that is the wrong shortcut. So here we go. That's me done with my forecast for the week, and I wish you good luck with your participation in the markets.